Dark, disturbing ghost stories. Soul harvester. They say the sweetest souls burn the brightest. That's why he takes them. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and just the right age, between 21 and 30. Those souls, so full of light, are the most delicious. No one ever sees him coming. He isn't a monster lurking in the shadows. He's a fantasy, a dream lover so perfect, so irresistible, that his victims walk willingly into his arms, believing they've found paradise. But paradise has a cost, and the moment they surrender, the moment their pleasure reaches its peak, he takes what he came for. And they are never seen again. The club pulsed with music, bodies moving in rhythmic waves under neon lights. Rachel laughed as she sipped her drink, her blonde hair catching the glow of the strobe lights. She felt good tonight, alive in a way she hadn't in a long time. Then she saw him. He was tall, lean, but strong, with piercing green eyes that locked onto her like a silent promise. His smirk was both playful and knowing, like he understood her deepest desires before she even did. Rachel felt her heart race as he moved toward her, his presence magnetic, his voice smooth as velvet. "Dance with me," he said, and she obeyed. The night blurred into a dream. He was everything she wanted. His touch ignited something primal inside her. His words curled around her like silk. Every glance, every whisper, every brush of his fingertips sent shivers down her spine. "Come home with me," he murmured, and Rachel didn't hesitate. His apartment was exactly what she imagined, modern, sleek, dimly lit with just the right amount of mystery. Candles flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. But Rachel barely noticed. Her world had narrowed to him. His hands traced her skin like he was memorizing every inch, his lips brushing against her ear as he whispered sweet, dark promises. The anticipation built with every touch, every caress, every slow, torturous movement. She was breathless, drowning in the warmth of his touch, his lips whispering promises against her skin. It felt too perfect. His voice, his scent, the way his hands traced her body like he had known her forever. He was everything she had ever desired, everything she had dreamed of in secret. And in this moment, she was his. A sudden, icy chill. Rachel's breath hitched. Something was wrong. But before she could react, before she could even think, she felt it. A pull, a tearing sensation deep inside her soul. Her vision blurred, her body convulsed, but it wasn't pleasure anymore. It was something else. But as the final waves of pleasure crashed over her, something changed. A sharp, unbearable coldness spread through her veins. Her body stiffened. Her fingers clawed at his chest, desperate to push him away, but she had no strength, no voice, no breath. He pulled back, watching her with those inhuman eyes, his perfect, mesmerizing disguise cracking just enough for her to see what lay beneath. Her mouth opened in a silent scream as darkness swallowed her whole. Her soul was leaving her. She tried to scream, but the world went dark. Mac's little sister, Rachel, was just 21 when she disappeared. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a gentle soul. The kind of girl who trusted too easily and believed in fairy tale love. No one knew what happened. She went out one night and never came home. The police found nothing, no struggle, no signs of foul play. Just an empty apartment, her car still parked outside. Another name on the ever-growing list of missing women.
Mac never believed in ghosts or demons, but as the years passed and the disappearances continued, he saw the pattern. Every single woman, blonde, blue-eyed, between 21 and 30. It wasn't a coincidence, and he was going to find out why. Mac had stopped counting the missing women. At first, it had been a nagging feeling, a story on the news, a flyer stapled to a lamppost. whispers in bars about women who disappeared without a trace. Then it became a pattern, always the same, blonde, blue-eyed, young, always vanished without a struggle. No bodies, no leads, no explanations. And then his sister, Rachel, was gone. Mac clenched his fists as he stared at her untouched apartment. Nothing had been stolen. No signs of forced entry. Just a lingering wrongness, like the air itself had absorbed her last breath. He couldn't explain it, but he felt it. Something unnatural had taken her, and he wasn't going to stop until he found out what.
The case files were haunting, each one a carbon copy of the last. Blonde, blue-eyed, always beautiful, always vibrant. He read the interviews. Parents left shattered, mothers whispering through tears. She was so happy. She said she met someone wonderful. Friends repeating the same story. How the victims had glowed after meeting their mystery lover. How they gushed about their perfect match. A whirlwind romance. 2 nights of passion. Then silence. And when the bodies were found. Mac swallowed hard as he looked at the autopsy reports. The women were discovered lying in their beds or apartments, seemingly untouched, their faces frozen in expressions of bliss. But their eyes were empty. Not just lifeless, but hollow, as if whatever made them had been stripped away. Their skin, pale and oddly thin, like something had drained them from the inside out. No cause of death, no signs of struggle, just gone. And yet, all of them had the same look before their deaths. That same eerie happiness. That same belief that they had finally found their one. Then Mac found something else. Journal entries, messages between friends, women gushing about the perfect man they had met, so charming, so understanding, so right. And then, 2 days later, they were gone. Security footage, blurry but clear enough. Mac kept reading. The details were always eerily similar. The women described a whirlwind romance, intense, immediate, consuming. They would tell their friends how they had finally met the one, the partner of their dreams. They spoke of deep connections, a lover who understood them better than anyone ever had. And 2 days later, they vanished. His blood ran cold, because the man on the tape, the one who had taken his sister, had eyes that weren't human. They shimmered, shifting between shades of green and gold, as if something ancient and hungry lurked beneath them. Journal entries, messages between friends, women gushing about the perfect man they had met, so charming, so understanding, so right. And then, 2 days later, they were gone. Security footage, blurry but clear enough. Mac kept reading. The details were always eerily similar. The women described a whirlwind romance, intense, immediate, consuming. They would tell their friends how they had finally met the one, the partner of their dreams. They spoke of deep connections, a lover who understood them better than anyone ever had. And 2 days later, they vanished. His blood ran cold. But one name kept surfacing. A man described by different women, yet always the same. A perfect man. A dream lover. Too perfect. Mac's gut twisted as he flipped through the descriptions. Women all over the country had encountered him. He was everything they wanted. Changing features, changing voices, yet always him. Then Mac found something else. Journal entries, messages between friends, women gushing about the perfect man they had met. So charming, so understanding, so right. And then, 2 days later, they were gone. Security footage, blurry but clear enough. Mac kept reading. The details were always eerily similar. The women described a whirlwind romance, intense, immediate, consuming. They would tell their friends how they had finally met the one, the partner of their dreams. They spoke of deep connections, a lover who understood them better than anyone ever had. And 2 days later, they vanished. His blood ran cold, because the man on the tape, the one who had taken his sister, had eyes that weren't human. They shimmered, shifting between shades of green and gold, as if something ancient and hungry lurked beneath them. But one name kept surfacing, a man described by different women, yet always the same. A perfect man, a dream lover, too perfect. Mac's gut twisted as he flipped through the descriptions. Women all over the country had encountered him. He was everything they wanted, changing features, changing voices, yet always him. Then Mac found something else. Security footage, blurry but clear enough. And his blood ran cold, because the man on the tape, the one who had taken his sister, had eyes that weren't human. They shimmered, shifting between shades of green and gold, as if something ancient and hungry lurked beneath them. Mac knew he was running out of time. The disappearances were increasing. The entity, whatever it was getting bolder. But no matter how close he got, the truth remained just out of reach. And then he saw her, a blonde woman in a bar, laughing, flirting. And him, the man who wasn't a man, watching her like a predator watches its prey. Mac moved, his heart hammering, ready to intervene. But as he reached them, the man turned, and he smiled, a slow, knowing smile, the kind that said, "You're too late." And then, just like that, they were gone. Mac stood frozen, rage and horror clawing at his chest. He had uncovered the truth, pieced together the nightmare, but no one would ever believe him, and the sweetest souls would keep vanishing, one by one, until nothing was left but the empty whispers of their names. Somewhere, in a darkened room, a man sat before a mirror. He lifted a delicate blonde-haired mask, pressing it gently against his face. A shudder rippled through his body. Skin shifted, bones realigned, eyes changed from gold to blue, a new face, a new hunt, and the world would never know. Like what you heard? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep the stories coming. New tales every Tuesday and Friday. Your support helps us bring the nightmares to life. And who knows? The next story might just be about you. But be careful who you dream of, because someone might be watching.
Thank you, Dark Souls. 1,000 of you have entered the shadows with us. 1,000 souls who dared to listen. We see you. We hear you. And we thank you. But this is only the beginning. If we reach 1,000 subscribers, something is waiting in the dark. Something twisted, unforgiving. True horror in its purest form. A tale so terrifying it will crawl beneath your skin and stay there. So subscribe and share, spread the horror. Because once we reach 1,000 souls, the real nightmare begins. Sleep tight, if you can.